I was in a position where I've been hurt, and this is the way I had the right to express myself.
What happens when a woman decides she's had enough? Bianca Censori apparently walked away from one of music's most controversial figures, leaving Kanye so desperate he dedicated an entire track to begging for her return on his newest album. But here's what's truly shocking. Sources close to Bianca claim she was on the verge of a panic attack over his public support of Hitler and Nazi imagery. As Kanye pleads for her to come back, we're left wondering, is this the sound of a man finally facing consequences, or a calculated move to garner sympathy? When a billionaire's relationship crumbles, most might expect private jets to distant islands or luxury retail therapy. Not Kanye West. Instead, he poured his heartbreak into his track, Bianca, a raw musical confession that's left fans and critics alike wondering if we're witnessing genuine vulnerability or calculated public manipulation. The song hits like an emotional sledgehammer from the first notes. Bianca, I just want you to come back. Come back to me. West pleads over a pitched-up soul sample that feels like it's trying to reach something forever out of grasp. His voice, deliberately distorted and stretched beyond recognition at points, creates an unsettling audio landscape that mirrors the chaos apparently unfolding in his personal life. What makes this musical moment so jarring is how dramatically it contrasts with the Kanye we've come to know, the unapologetic, controversy-courting figure who rarely shows weakness. Yet here he is, laying bare his desperation with lines that feel less like carefully crafted lyrics and more like desperate text messages never meant for public consumption. The production choices speak volumes about West's emotional state. Billboard noted how the pitched-up soul track combined with his distorted vocals creates a soundscape of anguish and rawness. It's as though the traditional rules of audio production were deliberately broken to reflect a man whose emotional state has likewise shattered. The distortion doesn't disguise his pain. It amplifies it. Perhaps most intriguing is West's partial confession. I know what I did to make you mad. It's an admission of guilt without the actual admission. He acknowledges wrongdoing but strategically leaves out exactly what he did. This calculated omission serves a dual purpose. It appears contrite while avoiding any specific accountability. Listeners are left to fill in the blanks, potentially imagining scenarios less damaging than reality. Throughout the track, West masterfully positions himself as abandoned and misunderstood, despite being the architect of his problems. He raps about Censori, running away, and her family wanting him locked up, constructing a narrative where he's the victim despite his earlier acknowledgement of wrongdoing. This contradictory framing creates a fascinatingly complex portrait that leaves audiences questioning what to believe. The timing of this deeply personal track's release raises eyebrows too. Nestled among controversial content on his album WW3, including songs glorifying Nazism according to Vulture, the vulnerability feels jarringly out of place. Could this emotional exposure be genuine, or is it strategically placed to humanize him amid the album's more provocative material? The juxtaposition feels deliberately designed to generate maximum discussion and maintain his grip on public attention. But between the lines of self-pity lie truly shocking revelations. West claims Censori tried to get me committed, a bombshell suggesting the relationship deteriorated to such an extent that involuntary psychiatric evaluation may have been considered. Even more concerning, he references Censori experiencing panic attacks because of his behavior, painting a disturbing picture of a relationship spiraling into psychological distress. These lyrics provide a troubling glimpse into the possible dynamic between them. If Censori was indeed suffering panic attacks triggered by West's actions, it suggests a deeply unhealthy relationship that extended beyond typical celebrity drama into potential emotional harm. The reference to commitment suggests matters reached crisis levels behind closed doors that the public never witnessed. Behind those closed doors lies a truth far darker than Kanye's emotional lyrics suggest. While he positions himself as the abandoned victim in his music, sources close to Bianca reveal the breaking point wasn't just another celebrity spat, it was his shocking embrace of one of history's most reviled ideologies. When a billionaire fashion mogul begins openly promoting Nazi symbolism and praising Hitler, even the most dedicated partner reaches her limit. The timeline of Kanye's descent into extremism tells a troubling story. What began as controversial statements gradually morphed into something far more sinister. While Bianca initially weathered numerous public storms alongside him, standing firm through various scandals that would have sent most partners running, there was one line she ultimately refused to cross: his public flirtation with Nazism. According to multiple sources, the architect who had redesigned her entire life around West finally reached her breaking point, specifically when he began selling shirts emblazoned with swastikas. This wasn't just another provocative fashion statement or attention-seeking controversy. It represented a fundamental moral boundary that Bianca couldn't ignore. The woman who had endured endless public scrutiny found herself unable to justify or explain away such blatant endorsement of hate. She was planning to divorce him over these antics. One insider revealed, pointing to a pattern of behavior that went beyond mere provocation into territory that was professionally and personally devastating for Censori. The public backlash wasn't just aimed at Kanye anymore, it began spilling over onto her. Those panic attacks Kanye references in his music weren't random occurrences. Reports indicate they were directly triggered by the impossible position she found herself in, watching her husband publicly embrace extremist ideologies while simultaneously being associated with them herself. For a respected architect whose professional reputation depends on credibility and trust, the connection to someone promoting Nazi imagery represented an existential threat to everything she had built. Each time Kanye doubled down on anti-Semitic sentiments on social media, Bianca reportedly suffered not just from the public fallout, but from the fundamental disconnect between her own values and her husband's increasingly extreme positions. The woman who had once been seen as Kanye's stabilizing influence found herself drowning in the toxic environment he was creating. Perhaps most telling was Kanye's decision to release an album titled WW3, featuring songs like Heil Hitler and cover art depicting KKK imagery. For most artists, such content would be career suicide, but for Kanye, it was merely another provocation, one that apparently pushed Bianca to her absolute limit. The album didn't just represent controversial art, it symbolized a line cross that could never be uncrossed. The professional ramifications for Censori cannot be understated. Architecture is a field built on relationships, reputation, and trust, all qualities that become compromised when one is married to someone publicly embracing hateful ideologies. Every client meeting, every professional interaction became shadowed by her husband's controversies. Sources suggest she began to realize that standing by Kanye meant sacrificing not just her peace of mind, but potentially her entire career. What makes this situation particularly tragic is that Bianca appears to have genuinely tried to support Kanye through his other controversies. She withstood the public scrutiny, the revealing outfits he designed for her, and the whirlwind nature of their relationship. But his embrace of Nazi imagery reportedly became the immovable obstacle, the one controversy that couldn't be explained away or justified. As Bianca reportedly struggled with these impossible circumstances, another force was gathering strength behind the scenes. Her concerned family watching from afar as their daughter became increasingly entangled in Kanye's extremist spiral. According to sources, they weren't just worried about her public image, but about her fundamental well-being in a relationship that had veered so dramatically into dangerous territory. The Censori family wasn't about to sit back and watch their daughter become entangled with a billionaire whose behavior had veered into alarming territory. In his raw confessional track, Bianca, Kanye's lyrics paint a revealing picture of in-laws who had reached their breaking point. "They want me locked up," he raps, revealing a family so concerned they allegedly pushed for drastic intervention. These aren't just worried phone calls or gentle suggestions. Kanye claims they wanted him sent to a retreat, a thinly veiled reference to mental health treatment or rehabilitation. Ordinary Australian parents against one of music's most powerful figures seems like a mismatch, but the Censoris apparently took extraordinary measures to protect their daughter. The speed of Kanye and Bianca's relationship likely triggered immediate alarms. Remember, this marriage materialized almost instantly after Kanye's highly publicized divorce from Kim Kardashian, hardly giving anyone time to process what was happening, let alone meet and evaluate a future son-in-law properly. Cultural differences likely amplified the tension. Bianca's Australian upbringing stands in stark contrast to Kanye's world of extreme wealth, constant controversy, and Hollywood excess. Sources suggest the family watched in horror as their accomplished architect daughter transformed before their eyes, going from respected professional to tabloid fixture overnight. The whirlwind romance left little room for the traditional getting-to-know-you phase most families expect before welcoming someone into their fold. The infamous Grammy Awards appearance delivered another shock to the Censori household. When Bianca appeared in a barely-there transparent outfit designed by Kanye himself, the public reaction was immediate and brutal. For parents watching from afar, seeing their daughter paraded in such revealing attire likely confirmed their worst fears about Kanye's influence and intentions. These weren't just fashion choices. They represented a complete transformation of their daughter's public image and professional standing. Family disapproval in celebrity relationships isn't unusual, but what makes this situation remarkable is how open Kanye has been about this conflict in his music. Rather than keeping family tensions private, he's aired them publicly, suggesting a level of animosity that transcends typical in-law disagreements. The lyrics hint at repeated attempts by the Censori family to intervene, with Kanye positioning himself as unfairly persecuted rather than acknowledging legitimate concerns. Perhaps most disturbing of all is Kanye's own comparison of his relationship with Bianca to another notorious industry couple, Diddy and Cassie. This reference sends chills considering the serious abuse allegations that have emerged in that relationship. By drawing this parallel himself, Kanye inadvertently raises alarming questions about the power dynamics in his own marriage. Was this a moment of accidental self-awareness? Or was he oblivious to the troubling implications of comparing himself to a relationship now associated with alleged abuse? The Censori family's alarm takes on new significance when viewed through this lens. Their apparent push for intervention wasn't just about protecting their daughter from public embarrassment or association with controversial views. It suggests genuine fear for her well-being in a relationship with deeply concerning power imbalances. When parents are willing to confront a billionaire with unlimited resources and legal firepower, it speaks to the depth of their worry. Industry insiders have noted the similarities between Kanye's controlling aesthetic decisions for Bianca and the ways other powerful men in the entertainment world have historically exercised dominance over women in their lives. The revealing outfits, the drastic image change, the isolation from family. These patterns have appeared in other relationships that later revealed troubling dynamics behind closed doors. So what's the truth when the dust settles? Behind Kanye's desperate lyrics lies a story of choices and consequences. The man who once commanded the music world now stands alone, abandoned not by conspiracies but by his own destructive behaviors. Every relationship has its breaking point. For Bianca, watching her husband spiral wasn't just emotionally draining, it became existentially threatening. While Kanye frames himself as the victim, the evidence paints a different picture. The question we're left with isn't whether their relationship is salvageable, but whether Kanye himself is. Has the genius finally crossed a line from which there's no return? The answer may lie not in his music, but in his actions moving forward.